Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me real quick. If a man can go days without talking to you, without checking up on you, without wondering how your day went, let me tell you something: that silence ain't your punishment. That silence is your power. A woman's presence is a blessing, but sometimes a man don't recognize that blessing until the noise stops and all he's left with is the echo of what he used to have. When you value yourself first, everything in your life starts shifting: your confidence, your relationships, your expectations, even the energy you carry. When you walk into a room, people treat you based on the standards you set, not the standards you hope for. When you decide that your peace, your heart, and your dignity come before anyone's temporary attention, you stop accepting the bare minimum. Valuing yourself isn't about being tough or acting like you don't care. It's about recognizing your own worth even when someone else fails to. A man can only rise to the level of respect you require. If you don't require much, he won't give much. If you accept excuses, you'll get patterns. If you accept silence, you'll get distance. But when you value yourself, you stop trying to earn love from someone who doesn't show it willingly. You stop chasing people who don't chase you. You stop explaining yourself to someone who isn't even trying to understand. Loving yourself first looks like not replying immediately when someone has ignored you for days. It looks like choosing to go to sleep without anxiety instead of waiting for a text that might never come. It looks like knowing that your time is precious, your presence is powerful, and your kindness is not to be played with. When you hold yourself at a high value, you naturally become selective about who gets close to you. You stop letting people drain you emotionally because you recognize that your energy is rare. You stop overgiving because you realize that reciprocity is a requirement, not a bonus. You stop begging for effort because you know you deserve someone who gives it freely. Self-value teaches a man something important. Access to you is earned, not given by default. When a man sees that you value yourself, he understands that disappearing for days will cost him something. He understands that if he doesn't show up consistently, someone else will. He understands that you're not waiting on him to validate your worth. That alone changes everything, because a man responds differently to a woman who carries herself with confidence and boundaries. He becomes more intentional. He becomes more aware of his actions. He becomes more careful with your feelings because he knows you won't tolerate anything less. And here's the truth: when you value yourself, you attract people who value you too, not because you demanded it, but because they can see the level you treat yourself at. When you walk in self-worth, you move with a kind of quiet power that tells the world, I am enough and I don't need to prove it. You stop settling for half love or part-time effort. You begin to understand that losing someone who doesn't respect your worth is not a loss at all. It's protection. Your life starts aligning with better friendships, better opportunities, and better relationships because you made space for what truly matches your value. Self-value is the foundation of everything you want in love and life. It sets the tone before you speak, before you text, and before you react. It teaches others how to treat you. And when you truly value yourself first, you never again have to beg someone to choose you. A man respects consistency, not complaints. When you keep showing the same standard, the same energy, the same boundaries, that's what teaches a man how to treat you. Complaining might express how you feel, but it doesn't change behavior. Consistency does. When you constantly repeat what you want, but your actions don't match your words, he stops listening. He hears the noise, but not the message, because people don't learn from speeches, they learn from patterns. A man pays attention not when you raise your voice, but when you raise your standards. He understands seriousness not when you argue, but when you act. Complaining tells him you're unhappy, but consistency tells him you're serious. And men respond to seriousness more than anything else. Consistency shows him what you expect. If you expect effort, then you don't reward laziness. If you expect respect, then you don't tolerate disrespect even once. If you expect communication, then you don't chase someone who disappears and returns whenever he feels like it. When you stay consistent in how you handle things, he begins to realize that your boundaries are not emotional reactions, they're permanent rules. Complaining comes off as temporary, something that fades when emotions settle. But consistent behavior doesn't fade, and that's what forces a man to adjust if he wants to keep you in his life. Men don't change when you complain. They change when they realize they might lose access to you. And access is protected by consistency. When you say you won't tolerate something, but then continue accepting it, he learns that your words are flexible, but when your actions stay aligned with your standards, he learns there's no negotiation. That's when effort increases. That's when calls come more regularly. That's when he starts paying attention to your needs, because he knows you're not afraid to walk away if you're not valued. Complaining puts the focus on him. Consistency puts the focus back on you. Instead of trying to change his behavior, you strengthen your own. You show that you won't chase validation, argue for respect, or beg for love. You show that you're not competing for his attention. He's competing for your presence. And when a man sees that you are stable, grounded, and clear in what you want, he starts moving differently. He becomes more intentional because he understands that inconsistency means consequences. A man who respects a woman is one who has seen her stand in her principles even when she feels lonely, confused, or tempted to settle. Consistency creates clarity. It eliminates mixed signals. It stops emotional chaos. It removes excuses. It sends a message. If you want me, show me. If you can't, I'll move on with peace. And that message, delivered without anger or argument, speaks louder than any complaint ever could. A man doesn't respect a woman because she tells him what she wants. He respects her because she shows him. And when your actions speak with calm confidence, he listens with a different level of attention. That's when he chooses to step up, not because you pressured him to, but because your consistency made him realize the value of keeping you. Silence isn't weakness. its power. Most people misunderstand silence, especially in relationships. They think if you're not responding, not chasing, not explaining, it means you don't care. But the truth is, silence is one of the strongest messages you can send without saying a single word. When a man goes days without talking to you, your silence in return becomes a mirror. It forces him to see himself, his actions, his inconsistency. Silence removes the distractions, the arguments, the excuses, and the drama. It leaves him alone with the reality of how he treated you. And trust me, that reality hits harder than any message you could have sent. Silence gives him the chance to feel your absence, and absence is often the only thing that makes a man realize the value of your presence. When you choose silence, you're choosing calm over chaos, dignity over desperation, emotional control over emotional reaction. You're saying, I'm not going to fight for someone who isn't fighting for me. A woman's silence says more than raised voices or long paragraphs ever could. It says you're no longer trying to convince him to show up. It says you're not begging someone to choose you. It says you're protecting your peace first. That kind of silence doesn't come from weakness. It comes from strength, maturity, and self-worth. You're choosing not to engage because you know what you bring to the table, and you know it should be appreciated, not ignored. A man feels silence differently than a woman does. For a woman, silence is emotional. For a man, silence is reflective. When you go quiet, he starts thinking. He starts noticing the difference in his days. He starts feeling the gap where your support, your laughter, your love, and your energy used to be. Silence makes him wonder what you're doing, who you're talking to, and most importantly, why you're so calm. Men expect reaction. They expect anger, questions, panic. When you don't give him any of that, it confuses him. It challenges him. It makes him respect you. Silence shows that you're not emotionally dependent on him, that you're not waiting around for his bare minimum, that you can carry on with your life. Even when he's not showing up, that realization alone makes him step back and think about the way he's been acting. Your silence also protects your heart. It gives you space to see the situation clearly. It stops you from acting out of emotion and helps you reconnect with your value. Silence keeps you from saying things you'll regret or fighting for a connection that someone else isn't fighting for. It teaches you patience, self-control, and emotional discipline. And the best part, silence allows truth to show itself. If he cares, he will come back. He will reach out. He will try to fix things because he can't stand the distance. But if he doesn't, then his silence matched yours. And that tells you everything you need to know. Silence is not the absence of power. It is the presence of strength. It's a decision to let your actions speak louder than your emotions. It's choosing not to chase someone who walked away. And it's understanding that the right man will never be comfortable losing a woman who knows how to use silence wisely. Your energy teaches him how to treat you long before your words ever do. People respond to the energy you carry more than the sentences you speak. If your energy says you're desperate, always available, always forgiving, always waiting, he'll treat you exactly like that. But if your energy says you're confident, selective, self-respecting, and unwilling to settle, then he rises to meet you or he steps aside. Your energy is your introduction before you even open your mouth. It communicates your standards, your expectations, and your boundaries without you having explained them every time. The way you carry yourself, the way you react, the way you respond, and the way you walk away when needed, these things teach a man how to show up in your life. When you allow someone to come in and out of your life whenever they feel like it, you're giving them the blueprint on how to treat you. When you drop everything for someone who only gives you half effort, you're teaching them that your time isn't valuable. When you respond instantly to someone who disappeared for days, you're telling them you don't require consistency. A man learns what he can get away with based on how you respond to what he's already done. If your energy stays forgiving even when the behavior stays disrespectful, then he sees no reason to change. But when your energy shifts, when you stop rewarding inconsistency, when you stop entertaining disrespect, when you stop making excuses for someone who doesn't prioritize you, he starts paying attention. Energy doesn't beg, it attracts. When you're confident in your own worth, you don't chase after someone who needs space just to realize your value. You don't try to convince someone to choose you. Instead, you choose yourself. And that energy is powerful because it creates a sense of accountability. A man who knows you respect yourself will be careful with the way he speaks to you, the way he handles you, and the way he shows up for you. He'll understand that your presence isn't guaranteed, it's earned. That fear of losing someone who values herself is what pushes him to match your effort. Your energy also protects you. It draws in the right people and repels the wrong ones. When you carry yourself with strength and clarity, men who only want games, confusion, or convenience naturally fall away. Your energy simply doesn't align with theirs. But men who are serious, intentional, respectful, and emotionally mature will be drawn to you because they can feel the level you are operating at. They know they can't step to you with half-hearted actions because your energy requires something deeper. It demands effort, honesty, and consistency. Sometimes the reason a man doesn't step up is because he feels he doesn't need to. But when your energy shifts into alignment with your value, he either levels up or loses access. A man can feel when you're giving too much, and he can feel when you pull back, not out of pettiness, but out of self-respect. That shift wakes him up. That shift makes him reflect. That shift makes him realize that if he wants to keep you, he can't continue treating you casually. Your energy is always speaking, even when you're silent. It tells him whether you are his option or his priority. It tells him whether he can come and go or whether he needs to show up consistently. And when your energy is rooted in self-worth, he learns quickly that you're a woman who cannot be taken lightly. When you pull back, he notices what he's losing, even if he doesn't admit it at first. People get comfortable with whatever access you give them. And a man especially gets used to the convenience of your presence, your messages, your support, your attention, your softness. As long as you're always there, he assumes you'll stay there, no matter how little he gives in return. But the moment you stop overextending yourself, the moment you stop initiating conversations, the moment you stop being the one holding the connection together, that's when he starts to feel the shift. Men feel absence more than presence. When you're constantly available, there's no reason for him to chase. But when you pull back your energy, that space becomes a wake-up call. He starts wondering why you're quiet, why you're not reaching out, why your energy suddenly feels different. And make no mistake, men can sense that shift emotionally, even if they pretend they don't notice. It hits him when he's scrolling through his phone and realizes your name hasn't popped up. It hits him when he's lying in bed and remembers how you used to check on him. It hits him when he suddenly feels the absence of the comfort you provided. Pulling back doesn't mean you're playing games. It means you're no longer participating in a one-sided effort. You're giving him a chance to step into the space you left open if he really wants to. When you pull back, he begins to compare the version of you who was always giving to the version of you who now values her peace more. He feels the difference between a woman who is trying to hold on to him and a woman who is okay without him. That difference matters. When a woman stops trying, a man starts thinking. That thinking leads to realization, the realization that you were doing more, caring more, contributing more than he acknowledged. The things he took for granted suddenly become things he misses. The attention he ignored becomes the silence he doesn't like. The effort he overlooked becomes the absence that bothers him. Pulling back also reveals his true intentions. A man who doesn't care will stay gone. A man who was using you for convenience will lose interest once the energy he benefited from is no longer there. But a man who genuinely cares will not be comfortable with distance. He will come closer. He will reach out. He will try to fix what he ignored before. Pulling back doesn't push the right man away. It separates the wrong one from the right one. The wrong one disappears. The right one steps up. You're not punishing him. You're protecting yourself. You're reminding him and yourself that effort should be mutual. Pulling back is simply you showing that you're done carrying all the emotional weight alone. You're giving him the opportunity to show what he wants. And when he realizes that he could actually lose you, that's when he feels the urgency to change, to communicate, and to put in effort. Distance makes him appreciate what closeness felt like. Silence makes him crave what your voice brought. Pulling back makes him understand that losing you is not something he can risk. And in that moment, he doesn't reach out because you asked him to. He reaches out because he finally understands what your presence truly meant. The right man will match your effort, not disappear from it, because real interest is consistent, not conditional. When a man truly wants you in his life, he doesn't leave you confused, guessing, or waiting for days. He doesn't create space that you have to fill with worry. He doesn't expect you to carry the communication, the emotional labor, or the responsibility of holding the connection together. A man who is genuinely invested doesn't run from effort. He leans into it. He shows up. He initiates. He checks in. He makes time even on the days he's busy because you matter to him. And when a man cares, he doesn't want to risk losing you by being distant or inconsistent. He matches your energy because he respects your value. He matches your communication because he respects your presence. He matches your intentions because he respects your heart. The right man doesn't get scared when you expect something real. He doesn't retreat when you express your needs. He doesn't shut down or disappear when the relationship requires responsibility. Instead, he listens, he adapts, and he steps up. The right man understands that effort isn't optional. It's the foundation of connection. He knows that communication isn't a chore, it's a privilege. He knows that loving someone means being present, not just when it's easy, but when it's uncomfortable too. He won't go days without speaking to you because he knows silence creates distance and distance creates doubt. A man who wants a place in your life doesn't risk that with unnecessary gaps. He values consistency because he knows that's how trust is built and maintained. When you meet the right man, everything feels different. You don't have to beg for attention. You don't have to chase him down. You don't have to explain basic respect. You don't have to remind him to show up. He does it naturally because he's emotionally mature enough to understand that effort is how you express care. He won't let ego or pride get in the way of communication. He won't allow misunderstandings to stretch into silence. He won't make you feel like you're too much or asking for too much. To the right man, your standards won't scare him, they'll inspire him, because the right man isn't intimidated by a woman who knows her worth. He's attracted to it. The right man is not perfect, but he is present. He is not flawless, but he is consistent. He may not always say the perfect words, but he will show the right actions. He won't disappear when things get tough. He won't use distance to control you, manipulate your emotions, or test your tolerance. He believes in fixing things, not avoiding them. He believes in communicating through issues, not running from them. When he feels the connection shifting, he addresses it. When he senses you pulling back, he steps closer, not because he fears losing control, but because he fears losing you. His effort isn't driven by insecurity, it's driven by appreciation. And that appreciation shows in the small things just as much as the big things. It shows in how he remembers the details you mention. It shows in how he checks on you without being asked. It shows in how he makes room for you in his daily life, not just the convenient parts. It shows in how he prioritizes time with you, even when he has other responsibilities. The right man understands that effort is a language and he speaks it fluently. When a man matches your effort, everything becomes balanced. You don't feel like you're the only one giving. You don't feel drained or neglected. You don't feel unsure about where you stand. Instead, you feel secure. You feel valued. You feel chosen. And that feeling doesn't come from you carrying the relationship. It comes from both of you walking toward each other at the same pace. The right man makes consistency feel natural. He makes effort feel mutual. He makes love feel safe. And when he sees the woman he cares about start to pull back because she's tired of inconsistency, he doesn't wait. He reaches out. He closes the gap. He reassures. He commits, because the right man doesn't disappear from effort. He rises to meet it